Blast it!
Look, plumber's crack.
What did you just say?
I said, look, the plumber's back.
All right, wise guy. Shouldn't you be on one of them escape transports?
Escape transports?
Newsflash, giant robots attacking! The escape transports are taking all the rich folks off this god-darn planet.
So why aren't you on one?
Socioeconomic disparity.
What?
He hasn't got enough bolts.
Yeah, I hear you, buddy. Anyway, this is Ratchet and Clank. And before we get into this, I gotta say, recording footage for this game, after beating it, made me like this game less. And to start off, it doesn't help that when you create a new file in this game, it automatically defaults to overwriting your previous save data instead of creating a new file. So my save file where I had unlocked everything, just gone, but it helped me realize something about this game. And we'll get to why I really dislike this game in a minute. Now the story follows the titular Clank, a small backpack-sized robot who wants to save the universe from destruction, teaming up with the titular Ratchet, a whatever the hell he is, who is basically completely in it for himself. The two are more or less an odd couple relationship where the two pretty much hate each other, but completely need each other because Clank cannot fly a spaceship, and Ratchet cannot even start a spaceship without Clank's robot ignition system thingy. And they're out to stop the villain, Chairman Drek, a businessman. Which is an interesting concept, except they go straight for the obvious with him. And I'm just gonna stop here and point out, hey, feel free to support the show through my PayPal. I'm not remotely saying this for satirical reasons or anything, but anyway, he's a businessman who's completely in it for the money. And this is a theme that goes on through every single character in the game. Because, oh yeah, I also have a Patreon. Feel free to visit there before you continue. What's that? You'd like to continue before doing that? Well, Ratchet and Clank disagrees. Because every single step in this goddamn game makes you pay for something before you can continue. Like, you cannot advance the plot before you purchase something from a character. And the thing is, it's not that you need to purchase an item, it's that you have to purchase an item that you've already earned. So you're really not earning the item, you're earning the ability to purchase said item. And there's even a moment where the characters even point out, hey, this is something we earned, this is a gift that we worked hard for, we were even promised this completely for free, why are we paying for it? And you know, it's great that you have the self-awareness to point out how stupid that is, game, but that doesn't fix the problem. And I know I'm dwelling on this, because this is like the thing I hate the most about this game. Because, while it sounds like such a small thing, okay, you have to purchase an upgrade here and there, the thing you have to realize is Ratchet and Clank is a game about blowing stuff up with really unique weapons and items. But guess what you can't really do if you're busy spending your money on just plot progression. Because you can't buy the shiny new weapons, and you can't buy ammo for the existing weapons you have because you're too busy paying to continue the story. Oh, what's that? You'd like to purchase ammo because you're stuck in a point where you could use your weapons to get through it with ease? Well, then you better grind, because you're not going to be able to afford other weapons that you find, health upgrades, or, you know, the ability to progress. And this happens a lot. In fact, it's so bad when you get to the 3rd level, you meet a guy who tries to sell you a weapon at such a high markup that after 2 full playthroughs of the game, focusing solely on getting bolts to pay for it, I still couldn't afford it. And after grinding for several hours after that, I finally could, and yes, the BFG of this game completely wrecks shop, but it had long since lost its use because I'd already beaten the game twice, and then spent hours grinding. And grinding is not fun. Grinding is doing the same repetitive task over and over, and to point something out, that's not fun, that's not a game, that is a job you don't get paid for. But the point is, the game just tries to beat you over the head about how it's so much about the economy and currency that it kind of forgets what it's trying to be, which is a fun third-person shooter platformer hybrid. Because it feels like Ratchet and Clank is a very bipolar game. I mean, on one hand, you've got Ratchet and Clank, the fun platformer where you run around blowing things up with flamethrowers and rocket launchers, all with the intent to save the universe. And then you've got Ratchet and Clank Economy Simulator. And there is more about economy in this game than I've seen on accounting spreadsheets. Like, it's just so focused on make sure you have enough bolts that you can pay to continue the game, or that you can pay to get that shiny new thing that you saw than to actually play it. And there's a point to saving up your money so you can buy a cool weapon in a game. Sure, I get that. But when it gets down to, oh, I don't want to buy that weapon that looks really fun and awesome, and oh, I don't want to buy ammo for the weapons I have that could help me because I might not be able to progress. That is a serious design flaw, and I'm definitely not over it. In fact, that's pretty much the one big thing that stuck with me about this game, having to start the game again from the start, losing everything I earned. It's just how frustrating it is that you have to actively not get things that might make you enjoy the game more, just so that you can continue to play it. And then weirdly enough, when you get to the end of the game, the big bad businessman villain just talks about how he's behind everything, and he's all about the money! Because money, 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 give me all your money. Again, Patreon. Completely satirical, but feel free. And it's like, yeah, I get it, game. He's a businessman, he's evil corporation, he's in it for the money, but you know what? So is every other bloody character in this game. It's not some sort of big revelation like the game wants you to think it is. It's a completely obvious thing, because that's every character. Okay, trying to get off this topic, but really this just makes me hate this game. And the sad thing is, there is a fun game here. You got fun platforming, with the only real issues being that health is rather scarce and that checkpoints are few and far between. Aside from that, the platforming is solid. Getting new gadgets, getting new upgrades, getting new weapons, they're all fun when you get to use them. But it's the stuff in between that just makes this game aggravating. It's the whole dread of, oh, I might not be able to pay to continue just because I bought that shiny new gun that looked really, really awesome. And eventually you get to points where things just start costing so much that you have to actively grind for it. It's not just, oh, you destroyed all the boxes up to this point, you're perfectly fine. No, you have to go out of your way to start destroying stuff, and that's a problem. And if you're going out of your way to actively not spend bolts, well, then you have to focus on melee attacks, which kind of only half work, because you can melee your opponents, but if you get swarmed, and you'll get swarmed often, you're going to get destroyed, and half the enemies seem to be able to predict the time in between your swings and attack you then. So melee really isn't all that much of an option, thus forcing you to go back to your weapons and again, make a bunch of money and grind and stuff. Sorry, I'm really trying to get away from this topic. What else can I talk about? There are collectible gold bolts, which are completely useless until your second playthrough, which allows you to buy golden variants of your own weapons, which are significantly better. But even once you have all the gold bolts to get all the weapons, you still have to pay for them, because you're just unlocking the ability to pay for them. Again, desperately not trying to go back on topic, this game is forcing me to. And there's also skill points, which do pretty much nothing. Basically, you get them for doing arbitrary tasks, and once you beat the game once, they unlock extra bonus things, which are kind of neat, to be fair, but they're arbitrary, and they don't really tell you about them anywhere in the game. They just sort of happen, so they kind of fall by the wayside a little bit, too. It feels like, well, maybe if there was a way to track them actively while you're playing, or understand what they do, other than, like Googling them. But this game doesn't do that either. Basically, when this game isn't about grinding, it's a fun platformer, but the thing is, it's often about that, and that frustrates me. Essentially, if you got your weapons free, or you got your ability to advance the plot for free, and just focused on purchasing weapons, there'd be a lot less grind, although there'd still be a lot of grind, especially to get this game's BFG, which would have been awesome the first time I played through the game, but I didn't have near enough bolts at that point. Basically, when this game isn't about grinding and being a job, it's pretty fun, if a little frustrating and a little difficult at points, but still fun. Now, the overall presentation to Ratchet and Clank is solid. The characters all look very nice, the environments are very pretty, they're varied. You got your classic desert world, fire world, Kevin Costner's water world, you also have space stations, and there's even some neat parts where the environments prevent you from using half your duo. And that actually changes up gameplay quite a lot, and that's really cool. All the worlds look unique, and I think visually it works well. Audibly, this game is pretty solid. I mean, the music isn't terribly memorable, but it is fast-paced and it does feel fitting. The voice acting sounds pretty spot on. Clank is just sort of a naive little guy that you kind of have to root for, and Ratchet honestly kind of just sounds slimy and you want to punch him, but to be fair, you kind of just want to punch Ratchet anyway. So, the characters work fantastically. I like Captain Qwark. I think he's a fantastic character. I think he's well written and well voice acted. Same with Chairman Drek. Fantastically voiced character, although his character is written a little shallow, and they could have really done a lot more with it. Overall, though, the audio presentation and the visuals are fantastic. Now, if you want to get a copy of Ratchet and Clank on the PS2, it's about $10, and that's not bad. You can also get it as part of the Ratchet and Clank collection on the PS3, and that's a little bit more pricey, but you're getting 3 games, so I kind of see it. It's also like HDified and has true achievements, if that's a thing that matters to you. So it's kind of a better deal in the long run, I suppose, but it's also, in its basis form, not a very expensive game. Now, do I recommend Ratchet and Clank? This is a real tricky one for me to talk about, because if you like fun third-person platformers and third-person shooters, you're probably going to find a lot of fun here. But you have to be wary about the grind, because, and I don't think I need to talk about this because I've spent most of this video talking about it, but there's a bunch of it here, especially if you want the really fun weapons. If you can get along with the minimal amounts of stuff, you should be able to get through with no grinding, but if you want all the weapons, or even just some of the best ones, or even just like a health upgrade or two, you're gonna at least have to spend a little bit of time grinding. And if you want the absolute best weapons, well, you're probably gonna have to play the game a couple of times through at least. If you don't like grinding, absolutely not, because honestly, it's gonna infuriate you, and that's the funny thing about this game. When I first played this game, I had a blast. It was when I had to stop and start collecting bolts to purchase everything that really made me angry about this game. And then losing it all, well, that just sort of magnified how much I absolutely couldn't stand the grinding in this game. Because honestly, it's just insane how expensive some of the stuff in this game is. So, if you like grinding, or if you don't mind grinding, yeah, you're gonna find a lot of fun in this game. If you hate grinding, probably steer clear of this one. I would once again just say go get Jak and Daxter, because that game was pretty awesome and didn't really require much, if any, grinding whatsoever. And completely satire-free this time, I do have a PayPal, you can support the show, and a Patreon thing. Shameless plug there, because, well, I've done it enough times here anyway. Let's beat you over the head with it just as badly as this game beat me over the head with having to buy stuff. But Ratchet and Clank, hard to recommend if you don't like grinding. But if you don't mind some grinding, it's pretty fun. Maybe just avoid the really high tier weapons, unless you want to dedicate a few hours to just grinding, because that's what it's going to take, and it's going to beat you down with it quite a lot.